Hello, a very good evening. You're watching the news at 6 on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas seeks India's help on resolving conflict with Israel. In talks with the visiting dignitary, Prime Minister Narendra Modi supports a viable and prosperous Palestine. CBI conducts searches at residences of former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram and son Karti in Chennai. Raids relate to alleged favours granted to INX Media that was owned by Peter and Indrani Mukherjee. Income Tax Department undertakes surveys at 22 locations in Delhi and adjoining areas. Alleged Benami deals worth 1,000 crore rupees linked to RJD Chief Lalu Prasad under probe. All India Muslim Personal Law Board calls triple talaq a matter of faith being practiced for the last 1,400 years. Tells Supreme Court there is no question of constitutional morality and equity. And Nifty crosses 9,500 level for the first time. Sensex surges to its lifetime high of 30,567 on news of early arrival of monsoon and persistent foreign inflows. While taking care not to provoke misunderstanding in Islamic nations before his first visit to Israel, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today reiterated that there was no change in India's traditional approach towards Palestine. Holding talks with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, Modi said India supported a viable and prosperous Palestine and assured help in resolving its conflict with Israel. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas was accorded a full ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan on Tuesday. Later, in a summit-level meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the two sides signed 5 agreements for development partnership and reconstruction of conflict-ravaged territory of Palestine. The agreements include cooperation in agriculture, health, youth and information technology, and visa exemption for diplomats.
At the bilateral level, India is committed to be a useful development partner of Palestine. President Abbas and I agreed that both sides, through practical cooperation, will work together to build Palestine's economy and contribute to improving the lives of its people.
आपके बहुमूल्य सहयोग से टेक्नोलॉजी पार्क कॉम्प्लेक्स की नींव रखी है। हमें आशा है कि दोनों देशों के बीच ये आपसी सहयोग निवेश और व्यापार विनिमय को नई ऊंचाइयों तक ले जाएगा।
Prime Minister Modi and President Abbas also discussed the situation in the Middle East and also the situation between Palestine and Israel. Prime Minister Modi extended unambiguous support to Palestine as a separate and independent nation. President Mahmoud Abbas condemned terrorism in all its forms and manifestations and urged that India should support Palestine on its border status of 1967 with its capital in East Jerusalem.
Friendship since the days of our own freedom struggle, India has been unwavering in support of the Palestinian cause. And we hope to see the realization of a sovereign, independent, united and viable Palestine, coexisting peacefully with Israel.
हमने इस बात पर बल दिया कि हमारा विकल्प 1967 की बाउंड्री से पूर्व दो राज्यों वाला स्टेट ऑफ पैलेस्टाइन का समाधान है, जिसकी राजधानी पूर्वीय यरूशलेम है, जिसके बाजू में इसराइल का राज्य है और दोनों राज्य शांति और सुरक्षा के वातावरण में अच्छे पड़ोसी की तरह रह सकते हैं।
Palestine is a major ally for India in tackling its requirements in West Asia, while India wants Palestine to reach a situation with Israel in a way that contributes to peace in the whole West Asian region. Israel's sensitivities are also important for India. Since Israel is an important partner for India as far as defense and homeland security are concerned, India needs to do a balancing act.
India has good relations with Israelis. Palestinian wants to find a midway between Israel and Palestine. It will be interesting to see that how Israel responds to it when Prime Minister Narendra Modi goes to visit Israel in July. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Manoj in Delhi.
Well, the CBI on Tuesday raided the residences and offices of former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram and his son Karti Chidambaram. The raids were related to alleged favours granted to Peter and Indrani Mukherjee's INX Media in getting clearance for foreign investment when Chidambaram was Finance Minister in 2007. Reacting to the raids, Chidambaram said that the government was trying to muzzle his voice.
The CBI on Tuesday conducted searches at more than a dozen places, including properties of former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram and his son Karti Chidambaram. The searches were in connection with the alleged criminal misconduct involving approval for foreign investments. They were conducted at 17 places across Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai and Gurugram. The investigation also included the residence of former media baron Peter Mukherjee.
विदेश से जो निवेश होता है भारत में, जिसमें FIPB फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रमोशन बोर्ड की परमिशन लगती है, सवाल ये उठता है कि उन परमिशन के लिए, उन मंजूरी के लिए, निवेश की मंजूरी के लिए क्यों जिन लोगों को मंजूरी मिली उन्होंने कुछ कंपनियों को पैसा दिया जो कंपनियां उस समय के वित्त मंत्री के लड़के की हैं, उनकी मालकियत की हैं.
The CBI is investigating charges that former Finance Minister's son Karti Chidambaram's company received kickbacks from INX Media that was founded by Peter Mukherjee. The complaint said INX Media got Foreign Exchange Promotion Board clearance for investment worth 4 crore rupees, but eventually received 305 crore rupees when Chidambaram was the finance minister.
As finance minister, he has given so many clearances in FIPB, which are all illegal. And his son has always benefited after he gave this illegal clearances and approvals. So the raids has to take place to get the documents and get incriminating evidence which they have kept.
Reacting to the CBI operation, Chidambaram said that he had done nothing wrong and that the government was using the CBI and other agencies to target his son and friends. He also said that government's aim was to silence his voice and stop him from writing.
भाजपा का गठबंधन तो सीबीआई से है, ईडी से है और उन सारी सरकारी एजेंसियों से है जिन्हें वो अपने मुखौटों की तरह प्रतिशोध और बदले के लिए इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं. उनको मुबारक. हमारी आवाज जितना दबाएंगे वो और बुलंद होगी.
The CBI alleged that Karti Chidambaram used his influence with the finance ministry to help the company scuttle the probe against it. The FIR doesn't name P. Chidambaram but refers to his role in the deal. Karti Chidambaram is also facing money laundering probe linked to the Aircel Maxis deal, with searches being carried out at his offices in the past. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the Income Tax Department today conducted raids and surveys at 22 locations in Delhi and Gurgaon on charges of Benami land deals involving RJD chief Lalu Prasad. A team of about 100 tax department officials and police personnel conducted searches at the premises of some prominent businessmen and real estate agents in Delhi, Gurgaon and Rewari. Searches were also conducted at the premises of the son of RJD MP PC Gupta. The BJP accused Lalu, his daughter Meesa Bharti and his two sons of having a prime role in Benami land deals worth thousands of crores in Patna, Delhi and other cities. Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad alleged that these transactions were a case of quid pro quo as they date back to the period when Lalu Prasad was the railway minister. Lalu Yadav, however, termed the raids as a conspiracy by the BJP, saying the party did not want him to hold a Grand Alliance rally in August. The raids came hours after Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar said that if the BJP or central government had evidence of Lalu's corruption, they should proceed with action.
सरकारी तंत्र का न कोई दुरुपयोग है, न किसी को डराने की नियत है, लेकिन भ्रष्टाचार और लूट की जांच तो होगी ना. चारा घोटाले में गरीबों का चारा लूटा गया कि नहीं लूटा गया, सजा हुई है. ये बेटों ने बड़ी बड़ी जमीन बनाई है. पटना में बड़ा माल 7 लाख स्क्वायर मीटर का बनाया है. दिल्ली में फ्रेंड्स कॉलोनी में मकान की चर्चा आती है. और उनकी बेटी ने शेल कंपनी से एक बड़ा सा प्लॉट लिया है बिजवासन में दिल्ली में और दूसरा सैनिक फार्म में, ये सच्चाई है कि नहीं सच्चाई है?
इस प्रकार की गिदर भभकियां जो जुबान बंद करने की कोशिश हो रही है सरकारी तंत्रों के माध्यम से, हमने लालू जी ने खुद ट्वीट करके कहा कि नए अलायंस पार्टनर जो हैं, जो आईटी को अलायंस पार्टनर की तरह इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, ईडी को कल को इस्तेमाल करेंगे, सीबीआई को इस्तेमाल करेंगे, उस तंत्र जो नया उनका गठबंधन सहयोगी है वो उनको मुबारक हो, लेकिन हमारी लड़ाई अदालत में भी चलेगी और जमीन पर भी चलेगी।
As the hearing on triple talaq entered the fourth day, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board told the Supreme Court that the practice is a matter of faith for Muslims, just as Lord Ram's birth in Ayodhya had been for Hindus. The board added that triple talaq has been being practiced for the last 1,400 years, and hence the question of constitutional morality and equality did not arise.
The All India Muslim Personal Law Board on Tuesday defended the practice of triple talaq in the Supreme Court. The board asked how can a 14,000-year-old practice be branded unconstitutional. It also questioned the centre for calling the practice un-Islamic. Appearing for AIMPLB, senior lawyer Kapil Sibal said it was a matter of faith and the top court should not interfere in one's faith or belief. The Muslim body also equated triple talaq with the Hindu belief that Lord Rama was born at Ayodhya. Meanwhile, the bench also questioned the AIMPLB on the position of e-divorce in Islam.
3 तलाक वीमन राइट्स के खिलाफ है, चिल्ड्रंस राइट के खिलाफ भी हो सकता है और है यकीनी तौर पर इसलिए कि उनके हुकूक मारे जाते हैं, लेकिन उसे असंवैधानिक करार देना, अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल करार देना ये बिल्कुल गलत है, इसलिए कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में तो बहुत सी ऐसी चीज़ें हैं कि जो बहुत सी चीज़ों को कवर करती हैं, तो मैं इसको तस्लीम नहीं करता रोहतगी साहब की। दूसरी बात यह है कि उनको नए कानून बनाने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है। एक सिर्फ सुप्रीम कोर्ट अगर बैन लगा देती है 3 तलाक एक साथ देने पर, तो कानून बनाने की क्या ज़रूरत है?
On Monday, the centre assured the apex court that it will bring a law on Muslim marriage and divorce if the practice of triple talaq is made invalid.
इसमें समानता के अधिकार का वायलेशन है। भारत का संविधान जो है, अगर कोई भी पर्सनल लॉ है और इस तरह का लॉ जो भारत के संविधान के खिलाफ नहीं हो सकता, भारत का संविधान सर्वोपरि है और इस संबंध में भारत सरकार ने भी अपना हल्फनामा पेश करके अपना पक्ष सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने रखा और साफ कहा है कि ट्रिपल तलाक का जो नियम है वो मुस्लिम बहनों के साथ, बेटियों के साथ में ये अन्याय है, ये जेंडर इनजस्टिस है।
Tuesday was the 4th day of hearing on a series of petitions challenging triple talaq, polygamy and nikah halala in the Muslim community. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the meteorological department is expecting normal monsoon this year. The forecast comes in the wake of an anti-cyclone in the lower levels of the sea, hindering its further movement towards west coast and Kerala. According to the Met Office, the southwest monsoon advanced into some parts of Bay of Bengal, Nicobar Islands, entire South Andaman Sea and parts of North Andaman Sea on May 14th. It further predicted that isolated places in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands will receive heavy rainfall for the next 2 days. The IMD has forecast this year's monsoon rains at 96% of the long period average. Well, the Nifty crossed the 9,500 level for the first time today, while Sensex surged to its lifetime high of 30,567 in late afternoon trade. The rise came on early arrival of rains and persistent foreign inflows. BSE Sensex gained 0.80% or 244.97 points to close at 30,567.09. While the NSE Nifty gained 0.65% to close at 9,507.40. Barring metal and infrastructure, all sectoral indices were trading in the positive zone. Brokers, however, said that sentiment remained upbeat, mostly on robust foreign fund inflows and an improvement in liquidity, with retail investors widening their bets. They further added that besides early arrival of rains and forecast of normal monsoon this year, which is expected to provide a booster dose to the rural economy, accelerated buying. Meanwhile, there is growing pressure on courts in India due to a huge backlog of cases. To address the issue, experts say that an alternate system to deliver justice needs to be set up. Arbitration is fast gaining ground as that alternative, and India is now emerging as an arbitration hub for international disputes as well.
With a pileup of pending cases and time-consuming settlements, there is a growing demand for out-of-court settlements. The government is also encouraging an alternate system to deliver justice. Private and government business establishments also prefer an out-of-court settlement for disputes.
We need to stop looking at it as an alternate dispute resolution mechanism. It is not alternate. It is actually a mainstream dispute resolution system. And I think that's, again, a very big mindset change. The day we look at it as a mainstream legislation, it's not going to be an option to approach the courts. And just like in the courts, you have a Supreme Court and the buck has to stop somewhere. If the buck stops here, it'll be a lot more streamlined.
The government had introduced amendments in the Arbitration and Conciliation Bill to ensure an investor-friendly environment in the country. Experts believe that the bill simplifies procedures and dispute resolution for investors will take less time. Also, India is now being looked at as an appropriate spot for arbitration.
I think it may help in putting India out there. However, timing is not everything, right? Again, this was just discussed in my last panel. When timing is your only concern, then quality will suffer. So you need to find a balance, and I think other arbitral venues and institutions have done that.
India जो है हमारा infrastructure one of the best है. We have talent pool. We have retired judges who are very good, who can become, arbitrators. हम उनको use कर सकते हैं after retirement because they cannot practice anywhere. So it's better that they can become arbitrators and they can also help us out with their expertise.
The Chief Justice of India had recently lauded the government for its efforts to simplify the arbitration process. In this process, disputes are resolved through a reconciliation or voluntary agreement. It is not required for an arbitrator to provide any binding results. The parties involved are free to either agree or disagree with the arbitrator's recommendations. In India, arbitrators are usually government officials who give their recommendations in their reports. Ravindra Sharan's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, here's a roundup of the other news from across the country and nationwide. Well, NGOs whose licenses were suspended for non-compliance of FCRA rules were given a final deadline of June 14th to file their returns for the last 5 years. They would have to submit annual returns for the financial years 2010-11 to 2014-15 with a renewal application under FCRA. This scheme will not be applicable to Greenpeace, Sabrang Trust IRF and 1,300 others for violating provisions of the FCRA. The Delhi High Court transferred the case of missing JNU student Najib Ahmed to the CBI on Tuesday. HC transferred the case with immediate effect. Next hearing in the matter will be on July 17th. Najib has been missing from 14th October 2016. India has said pending payments for UN peacekeeping services did not reflect the UN's commitment to peacekeeping operations. It further underscored that timely payment of contributions is needed for the financial help of the peacekeeping operations. The UN owes over $700 million to member states, including $55 million to India for peacekeeping operations. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, China on Tuesday asked India to clarify its call for a meaningful dialogue on the One Belt One Road initiative, while noting that doors are always open for New Delhi to join the project. China's reaction came a day after MEA spokesperson Gopal Bagle said that China should hold a meaningful dialogue on concerns over the OBOR project. Earlier, a state-run Chinese daily reported that India's refusal to join a Belt and Road Forum was partly a show for domestic politics and aimed to pile pressure on China. Meanwhile, many world leaders welcomed China's initiative to build OBOR and called the summit a success. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Keqiang met with visiting leaders from Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Fiji and Serbia after the conclusion of the two-day Belt and Road Summit in Beijing. India boycotted the Belt and Road Forum held from May 14th to 15th in China. The summit was attended by 29 world leaders, including Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. While businesses around the world are still reeling from the fallout of the virus ransomware, its threat and spread is reported to have reduced. It is unclear who is responsible for the global cyber attack that targeted around 3 lakh machines in 150 countries. But now a researcher of Indian origin has found a possible North Korea link. The theory is being closely investigated worldwide.
Ransomware has been around for a while, but the big difference here is the scale. Just the magnitude of the attack here is tremendous. We're talking 200,000 computers across 150 different countries. So this is really the biggest cyber shakedown in history.
Countries around the globe reeling from the fallout of ransomware attack, trying to contain the damage. The malware has spread across 150 countries since last Friday. But the good news is that it is now slowing down, with just a few reports coming in of fresh attacks globally.
As of this morning, it has reached approximately 150 countries and infected more than 300,000 machines. The good news is the infection rates have slowed over the weekend.
In Asia, including India, the attack was less severe than expected. But the Reserve Bank of India has asked the banks to update software systems at their ATMs with a security patch released by Microsoft Corp as a precautionary measure.
India is not at all the victim of the attack in the manner other countries of the world are facing today. But yes, we are keeping a very close watch. As per our information up to date, there has been isolated incidents in very limited areas in Andhra Pradesh and in a very limited area in Kerala.
Even as the situation in Europe is reported to be stable, researchers are now looking keenly to identify cyber criminals behind the attack. In a significant discovery, an Indian origin researcher at Google has linked a North Korean hacking group to this latest attack. According to researcher Neil Mehta, the Lazarus group may be behind the attack. He says the group has in the past used the same coding and tools that were used in WannaCrypt, the software used in the current hacking. Security firm Symantec also found links between Lazarus and WannaCry.
And right now we've uncovered a couple of what we would call weak indicators or weak links between WannaCry and this group that's been previously known as Lazarus. Lazarus was behind the attacks on Sony and the Bangladesh banks, for example. But these indicators aren't enough for us to definitively say it's Lazarus at all yet.
However, the latest observations are still a long way from determining whether North Korean hackers were indeed behind the recent global cyber attack. The ransomware encrypts computer files and requires payment to unlock them. According to the US, less than $70,000 has been paid in the ransomware attack globally. However, experts are advising everyone to ensure minimum damage.
Despite appearing to be criminal activity intended to raise money, it appears that less than $70,000 has been paid in ransoms, and we are not aware if payments have led to any data recovery.
In particular, making sure that our data is properly backed up and making sure that we are using the software patches, the antivirus patches that are sent out regularly by manufacturers. And these are things that we can all do to reduce the risk of the impact that we've seen over the last 48 hours.
Even though analysts say it might be impossible to know who posted the malware, they are digging hard to get all sort of information on the ransomware. They say it can be used to see what future attacks might look like so that companies and users can defend themselves against hacks. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, here's a roundup of the other international news and global buzz. South Korea on Tuesday reported that North Korea's missile program is progressing faster than expected. The statement comes after the UNSC demanded that the Kim Jong-un regime halt all nuclear and ballistic missile tests. The North, which has defied all calls to rein in its weapons programs, has been working on a missile mounted with a nuclear warhead capable of striking the US's mainland. Hot temperatures, winds and dry brush set fire to an unoccupied house in Arizona. At least 50 people were evacuated and sent to a local church for assistance. No injuries were reported. The authorities described the extent of the fire as quite large. South Korean President Moon Jae-in held a meeting on Tuesday with special envoys of US, China, Japan, Russia and Germany. This comes amid attempts to strengthen ties as tensions mounted on the Korean peninsula. This was after North Korea on Monday successfully conducted a missile test supervised by leader Kim Jong-un. The Chinese engineers on Tuesday turned two temporary swing bridges to close up a highway overpass flying over a railway line in the southwest Yunnan province. Within 3 hours, the engineers turned the two swing bridges weighing over 15,000 tons to complete the construction feat. The swing bridges were built 24 meters above ground for safe enough headroom for future train running. Top U.S. commander in Asia-Pacific, Admiral Harry Harris, met Japanese Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida in Tokyo to discuss the situation involving North Korea. Both nations underlined the seriousness of the situation on the Korean peninsula and the importance of the continued cooperation between the Washington, Tokyo and Seoul. The meetings come days after North Korea's latest missile launch. Shifting focus to sports now, here's Sports Beat. Deepti Sharma made a stunning 188-run knock, which is the second highest score in women's one-day international cricket. With Deepti's knock, India set up a massive 249-run win over Ireland in the quadrangular series. Deepti shared a record 320-run opening stand with Poonam Roth as India rattled a commanding 358 for 3. Argentine Juan Martín del Potro beat 10th seed Grigor Dimitrov in the first round of the Italy Open. The world number 34 won the match 3-6, 6-2, 6-3. Potro won his clay court opener 2 weeks ago at the Millennium Estoril Open, but left the tournament to be with his family in Argentina after his grandfather died. Olympic speed skating silver medalist Chris Creveling will miss next year's Winter Games in Pyeongchang after being given a 4-year ban for testing positive for a prohibited substance. Creveling won silver in the 5,000 meters relay at the Winter Games in Sochi in 2014. Roger Federer has pulled out of the French Open as he feels he needs to avoid playing on clay this season in order to prolong his career. Federer has already won the 3 biggest titles of the year to date as he followed his triumph in Australia with wins at Indian Wells and the Miami Open. According to reports, Federer would likely skip the European clay court season except for the French Open. The former world number 1's announcement came a day after Rafael Nadal won his 3rd consecutive clay court title of the season. That's it on this newscast. Have a good evening.